The call was initiated by prisoners out of different facilities that have been organizing together over a number of years. After the insurrection in Lee Correctional Facility in South Carolina, where 7 prisoners were murdered due to overcrowding and prison conditions, prisoners organized a national strike to build on the success of the 2016 National Prison Strike. The 2016 was 24 facilities were shut down across the country. It was the largest prison strike in the country since Attica 45 years before. And it really put prison conditions and mass incarcerations into a national discussion once again. In 2016, when a single day was called on September 9th, we found that prison administration officials chose preemptively to shut down facilities for what they called administrative reasons, thereby taking away the power of the prisoners to strike. So this time around, prisoners have adapted their strategy and tactics and decided that they're going to call for a week. The administration can't shut down the facilities for a week because the infrastructure would not survive a week without prison labor. Work stoppages, sit-ins, to boycotts of the commissary, and that's been an adaptation of strategy and tactics over the years, whereas the hunger strikes in 2013 were very effective in bringing the discussion to solitary confinement for indefinite periods of time and led to the Ashker settlement. These different diversity of tactics is a hope to be able to remedy some of the grievances that are part of the national list of demands. Prisoners have called for immediate improvement to prisons and prison conditions, having access to vote, having access to the law library and law resources, rehabilitation access and services. Pell Grants should be reinstated. There's been less and less services, whether they be college degrees and particularly rehab services. And especially if you get these gang designations or higher classifications, you get less and less opportunity to those rehabilitation services. So they're minuscule at best, and very few people even have access to them because the overcharging and overclassifying of particularly black and brown people. So an immediate end to racist gang enhancement laws targeting black and brown people, and nobody should be denied access to rehab, and no human being should be forced into prison for the rest of their lives. An end to prison slavery, being able to pay for the work that they do. These are all legitimate human rights demands, and I think once we recognize that, we'll recognize them not as what they've been moralistically designated as gangs or criminals or guilty, but as human beings and our neighbors and our brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers.
Some people will look at me possibly as a ex-felon or a parolee. I consider myself to be a survivor of a system that was made to target me and have me doing life in prison.
I know how to strip floors, wax them, take the gum up off floors, and so I started doing that, and that was 16 cents an hour.
I started out as a line server, serving food, breakfast and dinner. Then I became a dishwasher. And just all maintenance of the kitchen. They didn't pay much, they paid 13 cents an hour. Basically I made $20 a month, and they took 55% of that out for restitution.
It's kind of like a modern day plantation situation, specifically targeting poor people and most especially the most marginalized community, black and brown and LGBT community.
Somebody has identified you as a gang member. Now, there is no way for you to ever find out who did that, what was said, or even if anything was said at all.
Witnessed even from my experience in prison was that the prison administrations, they really foster a state which encourages prison gangs and for prisoners to be divided and to not come together around common issues. When we realize who the enemies are really, or who is putting us in these situations, and recognizing that the cellmate next to me, although maybe a different religion or race or sexual orientation, we still have the same captor, which is the state and the guard and the warden. And the victories have come from agreements to end hostilities.
Remember Attica!
Remember Attica!
Remember Jackson!
Remember Jackson!
Remember our incarcerated freedom fighters!
Remember our Incarcerated freedom fighters.
Banner drops, leafleting, making people aware at prison facilities of the conditions, maybe at some of the corporations that profit off prison labor. Articles can be written supporting legislative initiatives that some of these prisoners are asking for, like prevailing wages for the work they do, contacting politicians and writing letters to the editor, and getting the word out as much as possible that these prisoners are trying to get their voices heard, and they really need us to do that for them. We found most effective for people in the least amount of effort is phone zaps. Decide amongst yourselves that when a call is announced for a phone zap for a specific facility or for a specific person that's been retaliated against, that you call that facility and voice the prisoner's demands. Typically there's a script that's already created that can be sent out, but we found that it's been effective for people from the community to call, especially on specified dates and times, and relay the prisoner's issues and demands. A 5-minute phone call could reduce someone's time in solitary confinement by 5 minutes. Phone zaps work. So when you see a phone blast announced, make the calls, encourage other people to make the calls, form your own group, and then call again. It's prisoners that have called for this strike, it's prisoners that have drafted this list of demands, and it's prisoners that continue to communicate with us and relay to us the conditions they face, the retaliation they face when they try to speak out on their own. So it's incumbent to me on anybody that really does care about social justice and human rights, that they would listen to these prisoners and that they would take their direction, and that's what we're doing in Oak and IWOC, and we're encouraging others to do as well. We're prison abolitionists, so we believe there shouldn't be prisons, whether federal or state. We don't believe in detention facilities. We don't believe in juvenile halls.